Joe Biden, in his first address after ending his re-election bid, says he will continue fighting for his priorities in his final 6 months in office. Then he made a bit of news. He wants to pursue reforms to the Supreme Court. In his latest address, Joe Biden repeated his endorsement of Kamala Harris that he made right after ending his re-election campaign earlier this week, saying the vice president is prepared to take his place. A pressing question is who Kamala Harris will choose as her running mate. While speaking exclusively to NDTV, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy shared his vision for India-UK ties and said, currently, India-UK ties are underperforming. I want ties to overachieve. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave a fiery, defiant speech before US lawmakers, even as several of them boycotted it. The divisive address drew thousands of protesters outside the Capitol building, calling on him to accept a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. The pilot who survived a deadly plane crash in Nepal was saved after his cockpit was sheared off by a freight container seconds before the rest of the aircraft crashed in flames. The Earth experienced its hottest day in at least 84 years on the 22nd of July, with the global average temperature reaching a record high of 17.15 degrees Celsius, according to the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service. While speaking for the first time about his historic decision to end his re-election bid, US President Joe Biden said that saving our democracy was more important than any title. During an Oval Office address, Joe Biden told America that his painstaking choice to step aside, which only came after weeks of pressure from fellow Democrats, was made with the good of his party and his country in mind. Listen in to the key takeaways.
To tell you the truth, and the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country.
We have a live update lined up for you from Washington. Benji Haya joins us on the World 24/7. Thanks so much, Benji, for making time for us. Many say Joe Biden was magnanimous and optimistic in tone as he attempted to push back on critics who say he must resign now and to salvage a legacy that could be deeply tarnished by the events of the last month.
Yeah, this was a soft, yet stoic, somber, sobering address, one centered on selflessness from a man who has, of course, been in public service for decades. He said this job was, quote, the privilege of his life. He's given his heart and soul to this nation, but ultimately, democracy, he says, is at stake, and nothing, not even his own personal ambition, should be in the way of saving democracy. He didn't mention any details in particular about why he came to that historic decision to withdraw his candidacy from this 2024 presidential race. He didn't go into the concerns that voters had over his health, his ability, his fitness for office. Instead, he focused on the wider picture, the fact that this is a fight for the soul of America, and clearly he feels now that he is best placed to be out of that fight and to pass on that torch, that baton, to a younger generation. The decision being amongst him, his family, his allies, is that for his side to beat Donald Trump, Joe simply had to go. Nonetheless, he will be staying in post for 6 months, and I think to try to instill confidence in him, he tried to prove in this speech that he was up to the task and that he is still able to push through on his legislative aims in regard to civil rights, the right to vote, the right to choose, the right to an abortion, Supreme Court reform, which you were mentioning before, foreign policy, and he attempted to do that by leaning on his accomplishments, what he sees as his legacy, pulling this country out of the hole it was in economically, socially, from the COVID-19 pandemic, trying to unify this nation in the aftermath of the January 6, 2021 attack on the heart of American democracy, the US Capitol, and also his aims on climate change. But ultimately, the bottom line is this from Joe Biden tonight, is that all of that and the future of this nation is at stake unless voters choose what they feel is the right path forward. And ultimately, come November, the power will be in their hands.
Meanwhile, Benji, has Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race overshadowed Netanyahu's US visit?
Well, potentially. I mean, that was the talk of the town earlier today. And instead, if you turned on the broadcast network news in the United States right now, it's about 10 o'clock, still prime time. Obviously, all of the focus is on Joe Biden. I'm not suggesting this was some planned effort by the administration. It is certainly convenient timing. Nonetheless, President Joe Biden will be meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu tomorrow. That's Thursday in the US. So again, that will be back making headlines. And Joe Biden ultimately does want an element of his foreign policy legacy to be a ceasefire in the Israel-Gaza war.
Indeed.
And that is only going to work with engagement with the Israeli Prime Minister rather than trying to hog the limelight away from him.
As always, Benji, really appreciate you taking time for us and sharing those crucial updates. As Benji Haya is reporting from Washington, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave a fiery, defiant speech before US lawmakers, even as several of them boycotted it. The divisive address drew thousands of protesters outside the Capitol building, calling on him to accept a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Netanyahu, however, he said Israel will not relent in its military campaign against Hamas and suggested that the White House was dragging its feet on assisting the country. In fact, he also criticized the protesters as Iran's useful idiots.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the fourth time. We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
Meanwhile, one of the next big questions that's emerged is who could be potentially Kamala Harris's running mate? Though Harris is not the nominee yet, Biden's backing gives her a significant boost ahead of other potential contenders, fueling speculation about who else could join the ticket. Historically, vice presidents have actually been selected to complement the main candidate. Biden, for instance, actually named Harris because she would bring youth, diversity, and legal experience. Former President Donald Trump chose Vice President Mike Pence because he was a traditional conservative and offered legislative expertise that he didn't have. What might Harris look for? Well, based on that history, there are a few guesses at the moment. Her pick could be someone from a purple or red state who offers geographic diversity given her roots in California, and to assuage voters who could still hold sexist or racist attitudes. Many political watchers are arguing, as Obama did with Biden in 2008, it might be a white man. But here's a rundown of some of the possible candidates who might be considered and what they'd bring to the ticket.
The 2024 U.S. presidential election can be characterized by uncertainty, with Donald Trump surviving an assassination attempt and Joe Biden opting out of re-election. The only thing that seems almost certain is that Vice President Kamala Harris will be the Democratic nominee facing Trump in November. However, this raises another pressing question on who Harris will choose as her running mate. Among the top contenders is Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, who more recently came to light for his re-election victory in the historically red state last year. Beshear is one of the youngest governors in the nation and has previously served as Kentucky Attorney General. Speculation about him joining the ticket quickly started taking shape after it was revealed that Harris called him just hours after Biden announced his withdrawal.
And that meant a lot to me, to reach out to me personally and ask for my support. I pledged my support to her. Now, the rest of that conversation, I said would stay between us. We have a trust in where we're able to exchange ideas and give advice.
Arizona Senator Mark Kelly brings the advantage of a vital battleground state. Senator Kelly has established himself as a prominent advocate for gun control, which Harris has revealed to be a key theme in her bid to the top post. As a former astronaut and Navy veteran, Kelly has one of the most interesting backgrounds among those in the race to be Harris's running mate. Another possible choice is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, and in terms of the electoral map and the popular saying that the road to victory runs through Pennsylvania, the state is also crucial for the Democrats to capture. However, Shapiro has recently batted away questions on whether he is interested in taking up the position.
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals. I'm focused on doing my job here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Other theorized VPs include California Governor Gavin Newsom, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, and more. With Harris thrust into the limelight amid rare circumstances, it will be equally intriguing to see who becomes her running mate.
But we are not going back. We are not going back.
Samia Afsar for NDTV World.
Not going back. We're not going back.
Well, in other news, Bangladesh is crawling back to normalcy after a 5-day nationwide violent student protest over quotas in government jobs, with rush hour traffic returning to streets in the capital and limited reopening of banks, garment factories, as well as internet services. Mobile phones actually started working, but users say the internet is slow, while mobile internet and sites such as Facebook remain suspended in Bangladesh.
The office started working from today, officially. You know that, right? So we are still working on this, determining the numbers, okay? Because yesterday was also holiday, day before yesterday, and we're also busy in terms of handling the situation, in terms of protecting the human lives, protecting the government and the public and the private properties. So now the office is working and determining the numbers, and once the number is fully determined, we will make the official declaration.
Ridwan Ahmed joins us for a live update from Ground Zero. He's Voice of America's correspondent from Dhaka. Thanks so much, Ridwan, for joining us on NDTV. What is the current situation in Bangladesh, and have the protests relatively simmered?
The situation in Bangladesh now remain mostly calm, with very limited access to internet and social media sites like Facebook and TikTok, and even in some places we have reports of WhatsApp being very non-responsive. But in last couple of days we haven't seen any significant protest on the roads. There's no much violence, no reports of violence as well. And so this come after the government, they issued a circular on Tuesday morning stating that only 7% of the government jobs will be reserved for the quota holders, including 5% for the war veterans, the independence war veterans, and 2% for the remaining the ethnic minority groups, disabled persons, and transgenders. The remaining 93% would go to the merit holders, to the good scorers. So this has been the ruling of the Supreme Court that came on Sunday morning.
Ridwan, politically what's going on though, help us understand, because the government, we hear, attributed the unrest to fundamentalist Jamaat-e-Islami and their student front. But the main opposition, BNP, has rejected the charges and instead blamed the government?
The government was very quick to blame the opposition, that is the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, the BNP and the Jamaat-e-Islami, for taking advantage of this student-led movement and doing the attacks and the arsons. The Muhammad A. Arafat, who is the junior minister of the Information Ministry of Bangladesh, during a briefing at the state broadcaster premise, said to reporters that they had sensed a invasion of third party into this student-led movement who did the attacks on the government infrastructures. So that was their assessment, but he declined to make any further comment because they said the government has constituted a independent judicial commission to launch an investigation into the matter, and he said they can only be able to make further comments after the reports of this investigation comes to light.
And how are the students who participated in the nationwide demonstrations reacting to the government's latest action?
I have spoken to a bunch of the organizers of this quota reform movement, the student organizers who basically organized and mobilized these students. And they said right now where the situation stands, the demand to reform the quota, that is on one hand, but on the other hand, they have more demands right now, particularly to restore the internet at its full capacity, and to reopen the universities, because they allege it's because of the internet shutdown and because of the surveillance, and they were not being able to communicate with each other. They were not being able to coordinate the movement as they would have liked. So they want to go back to their campuses, the universities. They want to speak to the students. They want to speak to the other coordinators, and they want to come with a plan on how to move forward, because they have larger demands right now. They want justice for their, what they say, their brothers' lives, the people who lost their lives, the students who lost their lives, and they demand justice for that. They further demanded the Prime Minister has to take responsibility, and she has to take actions, the government has to take actions.
Right. Ridwan, really appreciate you taking out time and joining us with that live update from Dhaka. In other crucial news, a Canadian MP of Indian origin, Chandra Arya, has said Canada was being polluted by Khalistani extremists who were abusing the freedoms guaranteed under the Charter of Rights days after a Hindu temple was vandalized in Edmonton. Chandra Arya, a member of parliament from the Nepean in the House of Commons, said in a post on his X account that separatist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu of Sikhs for Justice released a video demanding that Arya and his Hindu Canadian friends go back to India after he condemned the vandalism of the Hindu temple and other acts of hate and violence by Khalistan supporters in Canada. Well, news and updates continue in a moment, right after this very short break.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV.
Welcome back. While exclusively speaking to NDTV, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy shared his vision for India-UK ties and said currently India-UK ties are underperforming. I want ties to overachieve. Here's what UK's Foreign Secretary said regarding UK-India free trade agreement to NDTV.
I'm here within 3 weeks, and it's an indication of the importance of our relationship, the growth and opportunity, I think, that the UK and India working together can achieve. And I'm here to launch an important security tech initiative. I think the UK-India relationship has been underperforming. I want to get it to overachieving. The government set successive targets and missed them, so I'm not going to set a target. My colleague Jonathan Reynolds, who leads for us on trade issues, of course will be getting into this over the coming days. The importance in the end in any trade deal is to have a win-win. There's got to be something in it for both sides. I don't want to get caught up in the weeds of what is still between us. That is a matter for negotiation. But I hope we can achieve something over this coming period.
Meanwhile, July 22nd was the hottest day on Earth, breaking the previous day's new record. In fact, Monday's average global temperature reached 17.15 degrees Celsius, just 0.06 degrees Celsius above Sunday's record-breaking temperature, according to Europe's Copernicus Climate Change Service. This puts humanity into truly uncharted territory. This is what the Copernicus director has said, as temperatures will continue to rise as per their prediction. Thank you for investing your time in watching this edition of The World 24/7. We'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
बहुत ही performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the